We're going to be testing the Fifine USB condenser mic, and this is the K678 version. So we'll be going through an exhaustive list of different types of tests for this specific microphone, and most importantly, we'll be comparing it to a similar competitor, which is the Maono AU-903. So for the first test, we're going to be doing a plosive test. We're going to see how good is the actual pop filter that's built into the microphone. How good is it to kind of prevent any pops or burst of air when you say things that start with a P. So for the first test, let's go right into it. Gimme pizza pronto. Gimme pizza pronto. So now we're going to be using a pop filter, and this is not included in the kit. It comes with a little stand that is really helpful. It looks really nice, but I much prefer, in terms of getting ergonomics and getting the right head position, I much prefer to use an aftermarket type of arm that you can buy. And this only costs like $20, so it's not very expensive at all. So here's the test. Gimme pizza pronto. Gimme pizza pronto. Gimme pizza pronto. Gimme pizza pronto. So what do you guys think? Is it necessary to get a pop filter? To be honest, I don't think it's absolutely necessary. You can be a little more careful how you say your P's. Just don't make them too obvious, kind of like I did in the test. And you could speak kind of like on off directional axis, so you don't speak right into the cardioid sensor over here. So for the next set of tests, we're going to be testing the cardioid pattern. Now this particular mic only has one pickup pattern. It doesn't have like bidirectional or omnidirectional. It just has a cardioid pattern, which in my honest opinion is something that I prefer for this type of setup, because I don't need all those extra capsules. I think you're going to be wasting extra money, especially if you're not going to be using it at all. In my case, I just need to do like kind of like a podcast, kind of voiceovers, and I think having one cardio pattern will give you better quality results. So let's test the off-axis angles. So for right now, I'm speaking right into the microphone where the green kind of indicator icon is on. Now I'm going to be kind of moving the microphone around. So right now I'm speaking kind of in the sideways angle, kind of where the little hole is to put the microphone stand. And this is completely off axis, 90 degrees from where I was before. Now let's go do a full 180 degrees on the back side where the volume control buttons are. So right now I'm speaking onto the 180 degrees all the way on the opposite side of where the green icon is. How does this sound? How does this sound? And we're back on kind of like the 45-degree angle, but on the other side where the hole is. How does this sound? Testing 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to go back to the main capsule. So let's rotate all the way around. And now I'm back to the main capsule. How does this sound? Now, one thing to note is this is not like your typical mic where you speak right into kind of right over here. Let's do a test. Speaking into the mic, testing 1, 2, 3. I'm speaking directly on the top of the microphone. So you definitely don't want to speak there. It would look kind of funny and obviously improper. So one really helpful and neat feature of this microphone is that there is a headphone jack at the bottom of the microphone, which allows you to plug, let's say, for example, these type of headphones. And this allows you to monitor in real time with zero latency what exactly you're saying. So this is really helpful if you don't want to make sure you stay level. So for example, I don't start talking really loud or speaking really quietly. This is very helpful. You want to do some professional voiceovers, podcasts, and stuff like that. Now, two notable knobs on the back side of this microphone are the volume controls. One is for obviously your headphones, so monitoring in real time without any latency. And then the second one is to control the mic gain. And I really appreciate that they provide this kind of easy level of adjustments, because sometimes going into the software can be quite annoying, especially in the heat of the moment. Let's say you're streaming and maybe you want to stand away from the microphone. It's really nice to be able to dynamically adjust the gain in real time without having to fuddle through some software, just using the hardware controls. Now, one thing I want to comment about, at least for Windows users, is that this is a very hot microphone. So if I keep it at the lowest settings, like if I turn the knob all the way to the lowest volume, and I have my Windows setting set to 100%, it's still picking up a lot of my volume. So what I recommend, at least personally for myself, for Windows, I set this to about 80%, and I have the hardware gain knob set to kind of 1/4 distance from the zero position. And this allows you to kind of just get a decent sound where you're not clipping, which would obviously distort and really ruin your audio quality. So I removed the microphone from the boom arm over here, as you can tell, and I put it back on its original stand, which in my opinion looks very nice and sleek. I really like just kind of the cool little triangle design it has. So not only is this stand very aesthetic, it's also very practical, as it helps with some shock absorption as you type. So maybe you're like kind of hardcore gamer streamer. So let's say I'm going to be doing some test over here. This is a cool chat. And yeah, so how is the kind of anti-vibration noise as I speak into the microphone and as I type, obviously? So as I mentioned before, there is a hardware level gain knob, and that was very essential to have to quickly adjust the volume input so that I can actually hear myself at a proper level because I moved the mic much further away from my mouth. As you can see, it's all the way over here instead of kind of just being right in front of my mouth. So I had to adjust the gain knob and it was very easy to do that. So the next thing we're going to test is the mute button. So it's conveniently placed right at the front of the microphone, and there's a very prominent LED light. Green indicates that it's on and red indicates that it's up. And I just turned on the microphone. So it works very well, and it's obviously very easy to use. So one thing I want to note about this stand is that it's obviously very convenient because the microphone is not in your face, and it's kind of easy to see the screen and interact and play games and stuff like that. But in order to get the best sound quality and kind of get more of that podcaster deep voiceover, maybe kind of radio-like voice, it's much better to put the microphone on a stand or on a boom arm and have it closer to your mouth. But honestly, it sounds really good from this distance, and I'm very surprised that it does such a good job, kind of just working as a more kind of like a background microphone. Another nice benefit of not having the microphone necessarily mounted right in front of your mouth is that there's going to be no issues with plosives because the microphone is pretty far away from your mouth. So if I say, "Give me pizza pronto," it's not going to make that pop noise. And by the way, plosives affects all types of microphones. Even this one over here, I also need to use a pop filter in order to prevent any kind of pops or kind of annoying bursts of air that come into the mic. So for the next and final test, we'll be comparing these two different condenser USB microphones, the Fifine K678 versus the Maono AU-903. Let's get into the test. Now for each test, I'll be reading an excerpt from one of my video reviews of the Garmin watch, and you'll be kind of getting a good side-by-side comparison. If you want to hear like a quick side-by-side comparison, I highly recommend to use the timestamp links below in the description so that you can quickly compare and contrast A versus B, obviously. So for test number 1, we'll be testing far away from the microphone, kind of like 30 centimeters away from the microphone. The Venue 2S on the surface may not look like a substantial upgrade from its predecessor or even the Vivo Active 4, but if we dive into the many improvements in its brand new interface and hardware sensors, we can really start to see how amazing this fitness tracker or smartwatch is. The Venue 2S on the surface may not look like a substantial upgrade from its predecessor or even the Vivo Active 4, but if we dive into the many improvements in its brand new interface and hardware sensors, we can really start to see how amazing this fitness tracker or smartwatch is. Now I'm testing the Maono mic far away from the microphone, the AU-903. The Venue 2S on the surface may not look like a substantial upgrade from its predecessor or even the Vivo Active 4, but if we dive into the many improvements in its brand new interface and hardware sensors, we can really start to see how amazing this fitness tracker or smartwatch is. Now the one thing about this stand is that it kind of blocks a lot. I much prefer to have the other one, but this one takes a lot less space on your desk, whereas that one kind of feels like it takes a lot of space because the arm is so big, and yeah, so that's a whole separate issue. So let's go into the test. The Venue 2S on the surface may not look like a substantial upgrade from its predecessor or even the Vivo Active 4, but if we dive into the many improvements in its brand new interface and hardware sensors, we can really start to see how amazing this fitness tracker or smartwatch is. So let's wrap this up. What do I think of the Fifine K678 USB condenser microphone? Well, first of all, I have to say I really like the design. Now, one thing I immediately noticed when I unboxed this was how heavy this microphone was. And I really like that. I don't think it's a con in any way because it really does kind of give this appearance of high quality premium product, especially when it comes to the unboxing experience. I was very impressed with how well everything was packaged nicely together, and it just felt like a very premium product. Now, given the low price point of this microphone, I'm very impressed with the performance. Compare this to the Maono AU-903, I feel like this captures more mid to high ends, whereas the Maono captures more low ends. And depending on your preference, I kind of prefer to have, especially for voiceovers, something where, speech is very important. Higher frequencies or mid frequencies are very important for speech. I kind of prefer this microphone over the Maono microphone. Now, my only con I have for this microphone, and it's rather minor, it's kind of petty, is that I kind of wish it was using a USB-C interface rather than a mini USB. Now, this obviously isn't a deal breaker. It was just more of a nice to have. Maybe in the next version, when they release this new update, they will have a USB-C. Now, in conclusion, I have to say this is a really good bang for buck. You're getting quite a lot for such a low price. You're getting really high quality microphone that competes with other more brand name competitors that, you're obviously paying for the brand name, like the Blue Yeti Nano. And I think that given that this provides all these other features like the real-time monitoring, the headphone jack, the level gain knob, that stuff is something that you don't get on some of the cheaper, lower budget tier microphones that are more kind of brand name like the Blue Yeti Nano. So in the end, yes, I think this is a very good microphone. I think it's going to do very well for kind of voiceovers, YouTube videos, content creation, anything that you kind of want to get started and you don't want to spend, so much money on this type of gear. So in the end, very good, high recommended, and I'll leave a link in the description for it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video, and peace out.